Okay, so let's unpack this. The sources we got for this deep dive. Well, they felt less like a cohesive package and more like they were pulled from, I don't know, warring dimensions.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, on one hand, we're dissecting the quiet arts of attraction and seduction, deep human connection, or sometimes dramatic failure.
And on the other, we're jumping into this huge, just volatile technological upheaval in the entire music industry. We're looking at everything from like instant AI mastering all the way back to the analog resurgence of vinyl.
It really does feel like two completely different worlds, doesn't it?
It does. But our mission today is to try and connect those threads for you. Because whether you're navigating, the complex standards of human relationships or the seismic shifts in cultural expression,
both spheres demand a really fierce commitment to personal mastery, to preparation, and maybe most importantly, to calibration.
Right. We're focusing on the individual's journey, whether you're an aspiring ideal lover or an artist trying to cut through the noise, how you can filter all this information, all these evolving standards to really present your value.
And we have some, I think, truly surprising insights coming up. We're going to break down the non-visual keys to attraction, expose some subtle but really effective manipulation tactics.
Things you really need to be able to spot.
Exactly. And then we'll transition to how sound production, everything from AI mastering to these huge censorship battles, how that reflects where our society is placing its value right now.
Let's jump straight into relationships because the sources, they immediately challenge our assumptions about what seduction even is. We tend to think of it as this visual, visceral thing, body language, appearance, that instant spark. But one source proposes this far more powerful and often overlooked pathway, the ideal lover.
That's right, and I love that the source calls it the Oprah. It's a recognizable archetype.
Right.
The ideal lover is, they're the person who can sit across from someone, see their absolute highest potential, and then speak to them as if that potential is already real.
So it's not just flattery then. It's not about their appearance or something they just achieved.
Precisely. It's about valuing their intellect, their intelligence, their ideas. It affirms who they are at their core. It's that kind of exchange where you could genuinely say, I find you so fascinating. I feel like I'm living in a dream come true. You're not just validating their looks, you're validating their entire being.
That suggests that this kind of relational mastery, it requires incredible psychological discipline. It's a very deliberate effort. And the sources draw a compelling parallel here, linking these strategies to Kobe Bryant's Mamba mentality.
And what's fascinating is how perfectly those pillars translate from, high-performance sports to the subtleties of human connection. The first pillar is fearlessness and resiliency.
Okay, but how does that apply when you're trying to build intimacy? Failure in attraction feels so much more personal than just missing a shot on a basketball court.
It does. The framework demands you see setbacks, awkward moments, even rejection, not as these fatal emotional catastrophes. They're just data points.
Just data.
Just data. You're learning, you're gathering information, and you just don't allow one moment of resistance to define the entire interaction.
That's a huge shift in mindset. Seeing a potential disaster as just... Okay, so what about the second pillar? Calibration. Because that one sounds like it's all about technique.
It is, and it's about non-showmanship. That's a critical distinction. Calibration is intentionally controlling the pace. So the source gives this great example. After a moment of real intimacy, maybe you've just connected. Instead of leaning in to capitalize on it, you deliberately pull back.
You pull back.
You pull back.
Yeah.
Take a sip of water, you lean back slightly in your chair.
But why? Why introduce distance when the connection is finally high? It feels so counterintuitive.
Because it stops the other person from feeling overwhelmed or cornered. It gives them back their autonomy, so the next move they make, whether it's deepening the conversation or leaning back to themselves, it feels like their choice.
So it wasn't a reaction to your pressure.
Exactly. It puts the control back in their hands, which makes their next action so much more valuable.
So much of this is invisible then. It's about space and body language. The sources say at least 65% of meaning is nonverbal. You can say all the right words, but if your body is off, you've already lost.
Absolutely. And this taps into the science of proxemics, how personal space affects our feeling of safety. But then there's cognitive proxemics, which is even more subtle. It's about how a distorted mental map of a situation can trigger a real physiological anxiety response.
Give us a practical example of that.
Okay, so say you're rehearsing for a big job interview. If you keep imagining yourself trapped in this tiny hot office under a spotlight, that internal picture can actually cause your heart rate to spike and your palms to sweat before you even walk in the room.
So you're telegraphing anxiety non-verbally before you've even said a word.
Exactly. Mastery means consciously controlling that internal map and calibrating your own internal response first.
Wow. Okay, so if the ideal lover is the light side of attraction, the sources also give us, well, the dark arts. We have hard data on manipulation tactics that exploit this same need for connection.
Yes, we have to look at the contrast. These methods are designed to create dependence. One tactic, nurture dependence, uses the psychological fact that nothing creates addiction, like an inconsistent reward.
Right. We talked about that with animal training, but how does that play out in a relationship? What's the example from the sources?
It's a deliberate pattern-setting exercise. So you call your partner every day at 4 p.m. You're engaged, you listen, you show high value. Day after day. Consistent reward.
Okay.
Then you intentionally miss a Wednesday. That missing call, that sudden withdrawal, it generates massive anxiety and dependence.
So the key isn't the call itself, it's the interruption of the pattern, that variable reward schedule. Why is that so effective?
Because the brain starts to blame the anxiety on the absence of the reward, not on the manipulator. It triggers the search behavior, what did I do wrong? Which is so much more intense than just receiving steady affection. It's highly destabilizing.
Chillingly effective. We also see love bombing detailed as another tactic, a covert attempt to gain rapid control.
Love bombing is just overwhelming someone with excessive affection and attention, but it comes with this silent, immediate demand for reciprocation.
It's too much too soon.
Way too much, too soon. It creates this dependency on an unstable foundation. The sources say the countermeasure is to demand consistency, steady affection that grows organically.
And this all ties into self-presentation, right?
Yeah.
The idea of demonstration of higher value, DHV, versus demonstration of lower value, DLV.
Right, but here's where that calibration lesson comes back. Trying too hard instantly becomes a DLV. If you're boasting about your job, or flashing money, or constantly trying to prove how smart you are, it just signals that you need external validation. And that neediness that's immediately seen as a lower value. The effort just defeats the purpose.
This is all based on behavioral strategy, but we have to contrast it with the cold, hard data from evolutionary science. The sources highlight a major paradox in what we say we want.
They absolutely do. When people self-report, they consistently say intelligence, kindness, humor. That those are way more important than physical attractiveness in a long-term partner.
That's our stated ideal.
That's the ideal.
Yeah.
But when you force them into an experimental scenario where they have to actually choose, the data changes dramatically.
So is all that self-reported data just worthless?
Not worthless, but it's context dependent. When people have to make a concrete choice, the deep evolutionary pressures tend to override our stated ideals. The sources show that both women and their parents will actually favor a more attractive mate over one who's described as being more intelligent.
Wow. That's a huge gap between our cultural values and our biological wiring.
It is, and the cross-cultural data on sex differences is just as stark.
What are the biggest divides there?
Women are consistently more willing than men to marry someone older, someone who already has kids, earns much more, or, and this is key, someone who is not good looking. They prioritize resources and stability.
And for men, it's the inverse, right? Prioritizing cues for fertility and youth.
Exactly. Men are more willing to marry someone younger, someone not likely to hold a steady job who would earn much less. These patterns just persist across cultures.
And finally, there's this fascinating finding about marital satisfaction itself. We're told looks fade, but the data says that a partner's physical attractiveness plays a larger role in predicting the husband's marital satisfaction over time.
Right. It reinforces that for men, physical traits seem to retain this disproportionate importance in their long-term happiness. It's a reminder that biology is always operating just beneath the surface.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time on calibrating personal presentation in the intimate sphere. Now let's pivot to how that exact same need for calibration of message, of value, is playing out in the music industry.
It's the perfect pivot because both require mastery in a constantly changing environment. And in the audio world, you see this huge tension between hyper-modern AI tools and the analog throwback of vinyl. Let's start with AI.
The biggest immediate impact of AI in music has to be democratization, right?
Undeniably. In production used to be this exclusive club. You needed thousands of dollars for gear, expensive software, years of training. AI just removes those barriers almost overnight.
So what are some of the really shocking capabilities that are upending the role of the traditional audio engineer?
Two things really stand out. First, instant step separation. So previously, if you wanted to remix a track, you needed the original isolated studio files. The stems.
Right.
AI can now just pull the vocals, drums, bass, everything from a finished mixed track in seconds. It opens up this huge world of legal and creative complexity.
And the second is mastering. That used to be the final kind of esoteric art form.
Exactly. Mastering is that final polish that makes a track sound professional and loud. That used to cost hundreds of dollars and require a trained human engineer. AI can now do a very, very high-quality master instantly for minimal cost.
And while everyone is worried about realistic voice cloning, I think the deeper challenge for artists is maintaining authenticity when the tech allows anyone to sound polished, or even to sound like someone else entirely.
That is the real challenge. If polish is free and instant, value shifts back to the originality of the song, the honesty of the message. But at the same time, as digital speed explodes, we see the complete opposite trend, the resurgence of physical media.
Which is why the sources highlight that a mixtape is a known gift. It required hours of excruciating pain and patience. It's another form of DHV, demonstration of higher value through invested effort.
The effort is the value, and there's this powerful tactile element to it. The source describes putting on a 30-year-old cassette, and you are instantly sent back to that specific time and place. The memories are so strong, the listener describes sweating, getting moisture around their eyes. A song can do in minutes what a movie takes an hour and a half to do. Okay, switching gears now to the cultural content of music itself. Censorship. The sources make it really clear that censorship is, at its core, a political statement.
Yes. It's a declaration by those in power that certain content does not belong in our culture or society. And music has always been one of the most effective ways to challenge the status quo.
We've seen this play out historically, even on, family-friendly TV. The Ed Sullivan Show was famous for it. They banned the Doors for singing Girl, We Couldn't Get Much Higher and told Bob Dylan to swap out a protest song.
And then you get artists like Madonna, who knew exactly how to push buttons in Reagan's puritanical America. She attacked the Catholic Church. She was far more sexually explicit than was common, explicitly challenging those power structures. This all kind of came to a head and led to the creation of the Parental Advisory label. How did that actually start?
It started with the Parents Music Resource Center, the PMRC, and they were highly influential. They organized hearings and asked for records to be stickered after one of the founders heard Prince's song, Darling Nikki, which has a lyric about masturbation.
Just a sticker, it seems so innocuous, but the impact was massive.
Oh, the consequence was immediate and financially crippling. The PMRC only asked for a sticker, but major retailers, most famously Walmart, said they would refuse to carry any record with that sticker.
So it effectively censored access to music for a huge part of America.
It did. It hurt sales and forced artists to either sanitize their content or lose massive distribution. It turned a political statement into an economic weapon.
And yet, many artists saw that battle as essential. We have to briefly mention someone like Gil Scott-Heron.
Scott-Heron used his music to address critical social issues, from drug use and angel dust to global politics in Johannesburg. He used music to convey messages that he felt just has got to be heard, regardless of the resistance. The message came first.
So if we synthesize this entire deep dive, from the subtle manipulation of a phone call to these huge cultural battles, there's a common thread.
There is. Both mastery and attraction and resilience in the music industry demand fierce preparation, self-awareness, and this constant calibration of self-presentation.
Whether you're presenting yourself as the ideal lover by affirming someone's potential, or as an artist navigating these seismic shifts to define your authentic value, it all comes down to intentional action.
It does, and the sources leave us with this fascinating, almost contradictory outlook on where we are right now.
On one hand, one source argues that we are living in the absolute best time to ever be alive in the history of our species, just because of the sheer volume of accumulated knowledge.
Yet another source warns that all this accumulated knowledge, all this tech, from AI to psychological strategies, could bring instability and chaos if we remain driven primarily by the pursuit of power and profit.
So if the purpose of life, as one source puts it, is simply to pass on what was learned, are we really sure we want to access and share knowledge, whether it's relationship strategies or voice cloning tech, at the breakneck speed that AI now allows? Especially if we haven't first caught up on the wisdom of how to use it. That's the question this deep dive leaves you to mull over.